Pressing all the buttons. There we go. It's good to see you, Perry. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, do you know, I'm really good. It's a beautiful day. The Highlands are treating us to some lovely weather today. In fact, it's been an amazing week, and I'm fearful that Scotland is using up all of its good weather in like May, and that's going to be it for the rest of the year. It's been glorious this last couple of weeks. It's been absolutely brilliant.
All right. I must admit I'm jealous. I live in Massachusetts and it is raining today.
Oh no! Oh mate, I'm sorry. Well, I will send some Highland sunshine your way. I'll pay something in the Patreon after this, so you can see some pictures. So you can at least pretend to be in the woodland. You can go and listen to the recording I did the other week and just zone out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. It has been mostly pretty nice lately, but we had a pretty extended winter. I wouldn't say unusually cold, but the cold weather lasted longer than I had expected. It got to the point where I finally, I was like, all right, I'm ready for it to be not this. And it's it can get rough too when you're trying. You want to go out, you want to take photos, and it's yet another freezing day, and it's just having to wear your parka in April is not always very fun.
No, it's not. And when I shoot with a not weather sealed camera as well, and it's made of metal, so it gets cold, and I'm worried about getting it wet. So I kind of tend to go around the world with gloves on, in a fun way, or in a funny way. So it's kind of like that. Does take the fun out of it a little bit, doesn't it? When you've got to kind of wrap up.
I think you and I actually shoot the same camera. You use an M11, right?
Yes. Oh, do you as well?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Hey, well, I tell you, I'll show you something. So I've been sent this because I had James Tocchio on from Casual Photophile a little while
not familiar.
back. Oh, so he was on the show a little while ago. Casual Photophile is a great website for stuff. Anyway, I offered to write some stuff for him. It sort of came up in conversation. Okay. And Pixie Camera, who make a rangefinder style camera a bit like an
M,
but isn't, have sent me one to have a play with. I've got a Pixie Max, and it uses the M mount lenses. So I'm kind of tinkering with that. It only arrived yesterday.
Okay.
But
I mean, I've heard the rumors of those. Obviously, like they're not very common, and so getting to shoot one is pretty rare. Also, I apologize for not being caught up on the Prime Lenses podcast. I've been very busy recently, so
that's all right. They're not going anywhere, and we'll keep making more. So hopefully, we will continue. You've got these waiting for you when you get there. But yeah, well, thank you so much for being on the subject of catching up on the show, on being a supporter of the show. I really appreciate that. And I thought we would sit down and do the Prime Lenses focus points, which are designed to plumb the depths of the soul of the photographer that you are, Perry. So should we run through these all important questions so that we can fully understand one another?
I mean, yeah, I'm game. Actually, out of curiosity, has anyone said no?
No. Not yet. No, thankfully, no. Everyone has been game so far. So there's dozens of us, right? Like there's not tons of people who've jumped on the bandwagon yet. But no, you're number two, and yes, no one has said no, thankfully. But if they did, that's okay too. If they don't want to take part, that's absolutely fine. But luckily, you're here and you're game. So I'll start. There's 10 things to run through. Don't overthink the answers.
Okay.
It's all just for fun. And if you have an epiphany later and you're like, actually, I've changed my mind, let me know, and that'll be fun too. So question number one, what makes a good photo?
Oh, goodness. Okay, this is like an evil question, and I'm going to apologize in advance. Being succinct is not a strong suit personally. So probably a lot of these, I mean, I promise not to overthink them because I don't think too much, but talking, can't promise that one.
Sure, go for it.
So for a little bit of context, I really like photo books. I've got a pretty substantial collection of them. And, this is actually a question that, I've heard before. People like to talk about it. I think people have lots of answers. I have yet to come to any sort of understanding about what all good photographs have in common, because I could tell you 6, 7, 8, however many axes on which I could say, well, a good photo has this, and then go find another photo that has the opposite.
Yeah.
For like myself, like I like simple photographs, but I can, I really appreciate like Alex Webb jamming as much stuff or Konstantin Manos, right? Like they jam all this information into a frame, and those are frankly better photos than mine. So the only thing that I can think of that all good photographs have in common is that people think they're good.
Okay.
So that's my
That's
answer.
interesting. Excellent. I like that. That's good. Okay, then question number 2, describe your style in 5 words. This might be a challenge.
Yes. Maybe like a catalog of a brisk walk.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's very good. The briskness as well is quite interesting. Like
Yeah.
good photos, you're leaving questions as well as answers, which I think is
Well, I think it's more that I just take photographs too quickly.
okay.
I walk quickly, I take the photograph quickly, I leave quickly. I'm not good at working a scene. I am just
No.
I'm walking, and you know, some photos happen along the way.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that too. Yeah, be in the moment. Get back to the moment. Don't take too long, I think.
Got places to be.
Yeah, exactly. Question number 3 then. Best camera ever made.
All right, here we go. Story time again. So,
Ooh, okay.
there is one specific camera, and it is there's this Boston area photographer. His name's Kenro Izu. He shoots ultra large format, and he has like this gigantic Deerdorf. I think it's like 14 by 20 or something. And the reason I would say this is because without this camera, it is not an exaggeration to say I wouldn't take photos. When I was in school many years ago, was at the library, which is a place I didn't spend a lot of time at. wasn't a very good student. I was there for a long time, but I was not studying in the library. But my friends were there preparing for finals, and I was there to more be with my friends. But they were all very serious in studying, and I had already kind of gotten stuff, or lined up to. I was done basically, and I just kind of wandered over to a random bookshelf, and for whatever reason, like I just picked a random book, and it was Kenro Izu's Light Over Ancient Angkor. And as I sit there looking through this book, there are reproductions of his gigantic palladium prints. I'd never thought to take photos before for myself. My family had cameras growing up. I'm a 90s kid. My dad had a camera for my early childhood. But I never took any myself. I never really had an interest in it. But that day I went home and I asked my dad if we had any cameras. And very luckily, my dad had his father's Olympus OM1 in a box with a couple lenses. And, I went down to the drugstore and got some color negative film, and that's what started the obsession. So it's got to be that camera, because if it had been, it could have been any book, right? Like if it had been a book on, needlepoint, I don't think I would be doing needlepoint, but I wouldn't be doing photography.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Oh, I love that. This is great. Okay. Question number 4 then. Best focal length. Was it one of those lenses?
Oh no, I'll get in trouble if I say what I really think about Olympus's 35mm lenses, specifically that focal length. But that is my answer. So my answer is 35mm, but the best lens ever made is a 50mm.
Okay, got it. Well, we'll put a pin in that and come back to that.
Okay.
Question number 5: people or places?
I'm going to say people. I'm going to say people because for as much as I like taking photographs, I like looking at photographs more. And I don't personally take pictures of people unless, it's like relatives at a, family gathering. I would say places if it were just my own photography, but because I prefer looking at photos, I prefer to look at photos with people in them.
Nice. Number 6, best place to make photos.
God, these questions are tough. I would say somewhere you've been invited to be and take photos.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Question number 7, a simple one probably. Lightroom or Capture One?
Simple. Simple. Okay. So I currently use Lightroom. As soon as my contract is over, I intend to switch. The key
Interesting.
hang up for me is silver effects.
Right.
It's plugged in a little bit better for Lightroom and Photoshop than it is for Capture One. I'm just going to get over that, and I'll find a workflow that works. I suffered through Focus earlier this year. Thankfully, that experiment's over. But silver effects is like kind of a key part of my workflow. Yeah. So I'm going to find a way to make it work. I have a difficult time given Adobe's kind of current corporate stances in a lot of aspects. I would specifically mention their perspective on generative AI is not something that I personally want to be engaged with. I don't want to use that technology. I don't want my photographs, they're not very good, but I don't think that matters for this, to be used for training. And I certainly don't want to ever, use a tool that might be copying someone else's work without their consent. That just, I'm not an artist. Like, I work at a desk job. Well, I still don't want to take from other, artists.
Yeah, I completely agree. I am a paid up member until April next year, and I'm contemplating similar moves of some sort. Like, something feels icky, and it will be hard to give things up. But I agree.
No slight to people who still want to use it. No. Yeah. It's just for myself personally.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an open source hippie at heart as well, and I kind of like the idea of going back to Linux and doing some silly open source command line stuff. I've been using my beloved photo lens tagger, learning how to use that on the command line and stuff. That's quite fun.
I actually use that tool as well. I will admit, I used to work writing open source software, so I'm also very sympathetic. There are some benefits to using the commercial software, for better or for worse. And, there's also the perspective of, if companies are gonna, hire people to work on them, someone's got to pay for it. I mean, I actually like that there's open source alternatives. I've heard of Darktable, I think. And it's good that those exist. They put pressure on the commercial places to make better software. I will say, having lens profiles is really nice.
Yes, it is. Oh, that's the world we live in. Question number 8 on the subject of the world we live in. Is a phone camera a real camera?
I might get in trouble for this answer. So a phone has a real camera, but a phone itself is not a real camera. And
that's good.
I want to say, like, I understand that a phone is what some folks have available to them. And I don't want to discourage anyone from taking photos or having a good time with it. I do think that there is value in having a dedicated camera that its purpose is taking photos and pretty much nothing else. I mean, I know that most cameras today do video. This is not an affliction I personally suffer from. My camera does not take video, and we'll just ignore the fact that I have another camera that does. But I think having a dedicated device, a physical thing that you can look at, and it tells you, like, it's like the Green Goblin mask, like, pick me up and go take photos with me, has a lot of power. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be inexpensive. It can be expensive. It's not about the cost or what specifically it is. It's more that it's a dedicated device that takes photos. Because, and again, this is just informed by my personal feeling, is like, I took a very long break from taking photos, about a decade actually. And I had a phone with a good camera in it the entire time. And I took maybe 24 photos over that decade, if I'm 100% honest. And most of them were like, here, look at this loaf of sourdough I baked, right, during the pandemic, like everybody else.
Yeah.
I got a new camera, and I'm averaging like 5,500 exposures a year, right? Like, it just helps to have a dedicated device. And whether it's expensive or inexpensive, it's something that someone gave you or something that you saved up for, it doesn't matter. It's, what makes it a quote unquote real camera to me is that its primary purpose is to take photographs. And that's why my answer is a phone has a real camera, because you can't deny how good the tech is. You can't deny that it can be used as a camera and make like incredible photographs. but the phone itself is not a real camera.
Yeah. Yep. No, cool. Nice, thoughtful answer. I like it. Okay, number 9. This is challenging. Polaroid or Instax?
Now, this is actually the easiest one for me. So I will caveat with saying I have never actually used either personally.
Right.
But kind of going back, I have a lot of photography books, and you see a lot more Polaroids in the books. And if I may in particular recommend one book to listeners, there's a book called 123 Polaroids.
Oh, cool.
Really excellent. A little bit challenging material. Maybe don't read it at work, but there's been some really incredible and boundary pushing work with Polaroids. And I'm sure some folks are doing that with Instax, but because I haven't seen it, I can only speak to what I've seen, which is Polaroids. So I'll go with Polaroid.
Nice. Yeah. I think probably me too on balance. However, Instax has a place for sure. It's nice and mini. The mini ones are fun. Okay. And then number 10, possibly the hardest. I don't know. Black and white or color?
Yeah, this one is tough. So on a personal level, I do far more black and white than color. Color is not something that I personally consider to be like a skill, and it is kind of a separate discipline from black and white photography, in my opinion. It does not help that I was for a long time kind of a film holdout, and I'm very picky about color film stocks. I really prefer slide to color negative, and slide got very expensive very quickly. I mean, it was always more expensive, but it got very expensive very quickly. And when I was shooting film, it was at a point it was earlier career. I couldn't really afford it except on special occasions. And then Provia went away and E100G went away, which are like by far my two favorite that I ever got to shoot. I missed Kodachrome, unfortunately. My dad shot Kodachrome. My grandfather shot Kodachrome. I missed the boat. That's on me. But so I shot black and white film. And I developed whatever limited skill I have shooting black and white film. And with digital, I just struggle to do anything in color that I personally like. And I know it's because I'm not forcing myself to do it enough.
Right.
So that's like the personal story. I think what makes black and white a more solid answer for me as well is when I think about, again, like my favorite photographers, my favorite photos, my favorite photo books.
Yeah.
My personal feeling is, and again, this is my personal ranking, not what I think is like an absolute ranking.
Yeah.
I think black and white has a higher ceiling. I've seen some really unbelievably good color photography. I mentioned 2 people earlier that I really think do incredible color work between Alex Webb and Constantine Manos. Another Boston local, Rania Matar, incredible color work. But at the end of the day, like, there's this Ralph Gibson photograph, like hands coming over the bow, and it's like a picture of a boat, and you'd have to see it to understand. Like I can describe it.
Right.
It will not do justice to the photo itself. And I could name maybe 24 black and white photographs that would like be my personal favorites before I got to like my favorite color photograph, which is an Alex Webb photo.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go with black and white.
Cool. Solid choice and solid reasoning. I like it. This is really good. Well, it was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, fun's a way to put it. Evil questions might be another. They're tough questions, but that's they're important questions. I really enjoyed them, actually.
Yeah. It's why I don't always put them in front of guests. Like I beta tested these with Becca Versace when she was in, because she seemed like she was game, like it'd be a good person to test them with. But you're right, it would be a little bit mean to put guests under it every week. But I think if people, if I give people warning and do something like this, then I think it's probably okay. But
yeah, I guess there's some degree of like you want the answer that people are gonna give that represents what they really think, and not the one that they think people want to hear.
Yes.
I will admit, like when you got that phone camera question, like. I don't want to discourage anyone.
Yeah.
I don't want to make people feel bad, but like that is my opinion. I will stick to it. I believe in that opinion. So.
No, I think you're bang on. I think the key thing is like never, I think, to dismiss any tool that someone likes using, right? Like if they like using it or whatever, like, when I wrote the original thing for the show as a whole, and I send this to guests, sometimes folks are confused and they think they have to choose only prime lenses to talk about because of the name of the show. But I put in the blurb that, you know, that lens can be fixed to a camera, it can come off cameras, it could be an iPod Touch, it could be whatever. Like if you like the quality of the first iPhone camera because it's so lo-fi and grainy and weird, but actually you like some characteristic of it, then great, go with it. You know, like I think it was more a MacGuffin to get people to talk about creating things. And as you say, quite often, as you were saying about having a dedicated thing puts you in a headspace, gives you like, right, you're giving yourself permission to do something you enjoy for you and for the love of doing it. That's the other important thing about these conversations is there's so much content created around photography that is not a conversation with an art form and is not the kind of discussing the practice and why it matters to people and why they enjoy it. Like you and I aren't going to trouble the Guggenheim with our work, and that's great. That's fine as long as we enjoy it and as long as we're doing it because we enjoy the craft. So yeah, so that's why I kind of thought these questions are kind of designed to kind of hopefully poke at some interesting stories from people. And I think what you've done there is a great job of showing people how they can approach this lovely activity. So thank you very much for being my second Focus Points participant.